Coming up next on The Beat Goes On is Dean Humphries from Colliers International. Once every 2 years, a fascinating opportunity like this comes on the market. Sell the 247-room Novotel Ibis Hotel in Greenlane. Dean is here tonight to tell us how you do it. Dean Humphries, welcome to The Beat Goes On. Wow, good to see you, Dean.
Good to see you too, Jared.
And you were telling me an interesting story before we even got on camera. You played in a band way back, not too far back, but around about the 80s, and your manager was Russell Crowe, of all people. Wow.
Yep, that was a
what
strange
great
story.
Memories.
Yeah, it was a great memory. Yep.
Yeah.
It was a fun time back in the 80s, so we all played at all the old venues around town, and it was a lot of fun.
And Russell was your manager.
He was.
And he had a couple of nightclubs.
Yeah, he had a nightclub called The Venue up in Simon Street. It was an underage venue.
Yeah.
And he looked after, all the kids that couldn't get into the pubs at the time. So it was great. And we used to play there, most weekends, so it was fun.
Then he went on to Australia. Then he became a big star. So you're at the stage where you can ring him up and say, Russell, it's Dean here. Does that happen? Or
no. I'm sure I could probably
you
at some
do that,
stage.
But you don't want to do that. But,
no.
Yeah. Now, Dean, you're here today because you've got an amazing task ahead of you, and it doesn't happen often. So we thought, let's talk to Dean, because you're selling a fantastic hotel with 247 rooms, and I thought to myself, wow, how do you even begin to do that? I mean, most real estate agents, you know what they're doing? They're selling one house or a couple of flats here and there, but to sell 247 rooms in a beautiful hotel right in the middle of Auckland, that's, not exactly in the middle of Auckland, but it's just by the racecourse, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah. So it's the Novotel Ibis in Ellerslie, and we've been sort of given the job to sell that by the owner, and it should be an exciting time over the next 6 weeks to see how we go.
Now, where do you even start? I mean, you talk to the owner, he says, I want you to sell this, and you're thinking, what's going on in your mind? I mean, have you already got big lists of potential buyers already on your database?
Yeah, it's a very specialised asset class to sell. Yeah. So it's not like, putting a house on the market or even a commercial building. Yeah. So you're selling really not only some real estate, but a very large business. So yeah, it's very specialised. There's only a certain number of buyers that look at hotels in the market. Yeah. So
would you have them already on your database? These people?
We have a few. I've been involved in selling quite a lot of high-profile hotels in New Zealand over the last 5 years. So we do know the buyers, but there's always new ones as well. So,
exactly. Yeah. How often does a new buyer pop up and say, "Hey, I'd like to get into the hotel business"?
Well, quite often actually. Particularly as of late, there's been a number of new buyers to the market. Particularly, from the foreign parts of the world. Chinese have been very prevalent buying hotels in Australia. Singaporean investors, people from Hong Kong, even some of the pension funds and sovereign wealth funds around the world.
Yeah. So, institutions.
Yeah.
So would you expect this buyer, if you were a betting man, would you say it'd be a New Zealander that buys this, or a New Zealand institution that buys this hotel?
Well, funny enough, probably 50% of the hotels in New Zealand are actually purchased by domestic investors.
Wow,
so there's some very wealthy and specialised investors in the country. A lot of them keep quite a low profile, but they do buy. So it's probably about a 50-50 split on who will be the eventual buyer.
Right, before we go any further, people are saying, where is this hotel? And let's have a look at it. It's a beautiful little hotel, isn't it? Well, 247 rooms, probably, is that considered mid-range or large?
Well, pretty much large. There's only 11 hotels in New Zealand that are non-strata titled or in Auckland, that are over 200 rooms. So this is considered one of the larger hotels in Auckland,
Now it's the Ibis Novotel.
Yes.
It's in Greenlane, and everyone knows where the Greenlane roundabout is, and it's right there. And if you're a racing man, wouldn't this be a great hotel to buy?
It would. Right next to a race course and a convention centre, right next to a private hospital as well. So.
Exactly. So many of our baby boomers who are thinking about having a little stay in hospital, they could retire back to their own hotel just, it's next door, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Now, when you're talking to prospective buyers, you can always say to them, New Zealand's really hot at the moment, isn't it? I mean, what are our tourist numbers now? I think we're creeping up to the 3 million a year, aren't they?
Yeah, we are. I mean, demand in New Zealand is at an all-time high. Inbound visitation numbers are nearly at 3 million, which is obviously higher than we've ever had. and the occupancy of hotels in Auckland, overall occupancy is running over 80%. So again, we've never reached 80% before, so things are running very hot. We have very little new hotel supply being built, so lots of demand. Demand's running at sort of 5 to 7% growth a year, but supply's only running at 1% growth a year. So
I'll say that again.
Yeah, so demand for hotel accommodation
is running at
about between 5 and 7%,
and we're only replacing it by 1%.
It's a little bit like the Auckland housing market. Really,
Wow.
demand is really outstripping supply. So it's quite similar fundamentals driving the hospitality industry as in the residential market at the moment.
It's a no-brainer, isn't it?
At the moment, it definitely is. Yeah.
Now, are we allowed to ask? What sort of a check would you have to write out to get anywhere near? I won't say the exact price. Is it? Do you do it by negotiation or you do it by auction?
It's an international expressions of interest. So we go out to the market and parties have 6 weeks to do their research, and then they'll come in and put confidential bids in. I guess most buyers though will ask us where the pricing parameters are. For this particular property, the sort of benchmark price that we're looking for is sort of the circa mid-50s million range.
50 million, yeah.
50 to $60 million, so it's sort of not for the light-hearted.
I think I'll buy 2 of them.
They're big transactions. They can take between 3 to 6 months to go from woe to go. And you've got to be very knowledgeable of the market and cash flows, because people are buying them on future cash flows, not on really the way they look or their physical attributes. It's more on future performance. So,
but the great part about the job, Dean, and this is the part I'd love. Of course, you'll get a call from Singapore, you'll get a call from China, you'll get a call from Taiwan. You've got to get on the plane and go and see the buyers, don't you? Because it's worth it, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yep. A lot of our job is travelling. So during the campaign, we'll travel to most parts of the Asia Pacific region.
You're never home.
No, never home. Travelling salesman.
You never get tired of that?
Look, it's an occupational hazard, but I do love travel and I love the industry, so it doesn't bother me.
Now, so let's go over it. For our baby boomer friends, look, you never know. This is a baby boomer chat program, and at home there could be a baby boomer with with $50 million. He's sitting there thinking, I'm getting 6% at the bank. That's just not good enough. So if he was to buy a hotel, he'll make a lot more than 6%.
Yeah, I mean, hotels typically provide higher returns than other commercial properties. There's a reason for that. Some of the cash flows are are more risky. When times are good, your returns go up very, very high. But when times are not so good, there's risk involved. So, I think probably returns before debt in play are somewhere between sort of 8 and 10%. But then you've also got to factor in capital growth.
And I'd say that, we're talking about the mythical baby boomer doing this, but you'd put your money on it'd be more likely to be an institution, Canadian pension fund or something like that might be the buyer.
Well, funny, they're all in the mix. Like there are a number of high net worth New Zealanders, funny enough, that buy hotels and own hotels. So, you never know, do you? And whilst you don't have to have 50 million because the banks will lend on them. So the reality is you'd be quite surprised. The people that own hotels in New Zealand, there are a number of high net worth baby boomers.
It's Colliers International. Just in case some of our baby boomers think, hey, this could be possible, they need to get hold of you, don't they? Colliers International.
Yep, Colliers International.
Company.
Yes.
It's right throughout New Zealand, isn't it, Colliers?
Yep.
How many branches have they got, Colliers?
We've got 16 offices throughout the country.
Yeah, so it's pretty big.
Our national hotel division is based in Auckland,
yeah,
but we work right throughout the country in the South Pacific.
So what's the best number to get straight through to you direct without them having to worry about going through the switchboard and,
Yeah, my mobile's the best one.
Mobile. Let's give us your mobile.
It's 021 408
408
156.
156.
Yes.
We're waiting for that call, aren't we, Dean? So it's going to come very soon. So, hey, thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
We'll see you again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.